Hi, this is John from FlatCatGear, and in part 2 of the emergency kitchen, we're going to talk about setting it up and what it takes to operate it. So one of the things you'll notice is I've already filled my container up with alcohol. What's nice about it is it's a square container, so because of the extra fuel line, you see how it sits in the bottom corner? That's actually pretty nice. So the first thing we need to do is we need to hook up the stove, and I'll show all of this up and close up in a minute, okay? So as I said in my other video, this is designed to be used with the Link stove and the IsoClean 2 stove. And you notice that we've added that extra port. And what that does, it allows us to hook up our fuel line. So our fuel line just slips in that hole and sits on the ground. That's all there is to it. Again, on top of our fuel bottle, we have this nice bulkhead union, and we've got an O-ring attached on that. And what that should do is provide you a pretty leak-tight seal. Now, that seal is going to be dependent on the surface finish and the quality of your lid. So with these Nalgene bottles, it's a pretty nice surface. So to start off with, the bottle's fueled. The most difficult thing is that this pump right now is full of air. And the way this pump works, it really needs a liquid seal to be able to pump effectively. So the hardest part in the startup is you have to prime the pump. So what I'm going to do, remember my tube is down in the corner there. I'm going to turn my bottle over on the side, and I'm going to start pumping. I've unlocked this clamp here. And sometimes it takes a bit to prime the pump. But once it gets wet, okay, now it's getting wet. You see as I pump it, there's a little air bubble there. Now that's primed. Now once the pump's primed, it's really easy to operate after that. Now I'm going to close this clamp. Even though it's primed, over time this can leak fuel back and forth. So I typically use this lock, hose lock on the top. Once the pump is primed, now you can take this and you can actually lower it. You can drop it down on the ground, and it will pump liquid up off the ground. You know, we can keep this away. Now, the lower this is, the longer it will take to refill. So you can put it down there, but you don't need to. So I pulled the nozzle out of the stove so I could show you how much fuel this pumps per stroke. Again, it's a very controlled amount. That's one of the reasons we really like this little pump. Like I said, this pump, left on its own, will have a slight leak to it, and that's why I always use this clamp to cut off the flow. In this configuration, you can see that I've got, a good 1.5 feet between my pump and my stove, and I've also have my fuel bottle down about 1.5 feet below the table. To use the stove, unclamp the lock. Since it is already primed, it's simple to pump and fill. And when you're done, I just clip off the hose and keeps it from backflowing into the reservoir. You can have this tank either below or above your cooking surface. Now, if you do have it above, it will slowly leak into the stove, which is why I always use this clamp after pumping. It also uses this particular setup I have using the Link stove. It also uses the IsoClean 2.0 stove. And both those stoves are really nice for pot sizes. This is a 6-inch pot. It's pretty stable in a 6-inch pot. Well, in emergency cooking, we figure people are going to use bigger pans. And this is where you get into a little problem. It's a large fry pan. The pot diameter is just too small. And the other thing is this handle weighs a lot. And so it's unbalanced. So what we're including in our kit is we have stainless steel. It's not galvanized. It is stainless steel pot stand about 6 inches in diameter, and that just provides a lot more stability. So that is an overview of our emergency kitchen.